Now we're on to chapter 4. So, chapter 4 is all about tables and charts and data. And we're going to use this video to go over some really important vocabulary. So, the first vocabulary that we're going to use is data. All right? Data is information and numbers that are collected to be analyzed. So, some examples of data may be if you ask different people what their favorite sports are, and then you have a collection of how many people like soccer, how many people like football. So that's one kind of data. Data could be any information or any numbers that you collect. A graph is the next vocabulary word we're going to talk about, and a graph is one way to display your data. You can display data in a graph, and a graph is a picture representation of the data. So you could have a graph with bars. You could have a graph with a line, right? There are different ways to make graphs. You can have a pie graph where you color in different sections of the pie. There's lots of different pictures that you can use to display the data. And finally, a table. A table is a way to organize your data so that it makes sense. So a table can look like this, and it just shows you what you gathered. So you could say that person number 1 liked soccer and person number 2 liked hockey. You can also have a table that shows you the totals. So maybe you've asked a total of 100 people, and 33 people said their favorite sport was hockey. 15 said their favorite sport was soccer, football, 15 said football, and maybe 45 said soccer. So you can use a table in a lot of different ways, but the difference between a table and a graph is that a table just gives the pure data, and a graph uses a picture, some kind of graphic organizer to display the data. So here are 2 examples of tables, and we're going to talk about the parts of the tables and the vocabulary that goes with them. Every table has to have a title. We have to know what the table is about. So in this purple table, the title is 5 bus routes used last Monday. In the green table, it's called Birthday Months of Raul's Friends. So the title tells us what the data is. What are the numbers and information that was collected? There's another type of title that are called label titles, and those are the ones that tell us the type of information that was collected. In the purple table, we have the bus routes. So these are the different types of bus routes that were possible. We have the title that is called bus route. We know what A means. It's a type of bus route. And we have number of passengers. And that label tells us what this number means. This 500 isn't just a random 500. It's 500 passengers. That's what this label or this title tells us. In the green table, we can see that this January, this February, March, the reason we're talking about them is because they are the months that some people have birthdays in. So the label is birthday month. And then over here, number of friends explains what these numbers mean. It labels the numbers. So we know that this 3 is not just a regular 3, but it's 3 friends, right? 3 friends that have their birthday month in March. That's why labels are important, so we know what the numbers and the information inside the table means. The next two are fairly simple. A column is a way to describe the squares inside of a table. So a column are the ones that go up and down. So this is one column, another column, a column, 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 column. Here's a column, and here's a column. The purple table, how many columns does it have? How many columns does the green table have? A row describes the line of squares that go across. Okay? So rows go across. How many rows does the green chart have? How many lines that go across are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows in the green table. This slide is about parts of a graph. Remember that the table was just the information and a graph is the picture of the information. This particular graph is a bar graph. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But no matter what type of graph it is, what we're going to be talking about in this chapter, all the graphs have the same parts. Again, we have a title, right? And here's the title of the graph. Number of visitors at an art show. Please explain why it's important to have a title in the graph, and what does this title tell us? And again, we have labels, okay? We're going to get to these labels in a second. I will circle them and show them to you right now, and then we'll explain it a little bit later. So the axis labels are right here. Those are the axis labels. Okay, and the data labels are these right here. These are data labels. So there's lots of different types of labels in a graph. To understand axis and data labels, we have to know the next vocabulary word, which are the horizontal axis and the vertical axis. The vertical axis, vertical means up and down, right? So this is the vertical axis. It's the one that goes up and down over here. And the horizontal axis, we know that horizon means this way and this way. Like if you look out at a picture at the horizon. So over here, this is the horizontal axis because it goes from side to side. So let's look again at the axis labels. This is an axis label. This is the vertical axis label, and it tells us what the numbers mean. So this 70 means that this would be 70 visitors. A 10 isn't just a regular 10, it's 10 visitors. The axis label labels this vertical axis what the numbers mean. And this is the axis label of the horizontal axis. It's day of the week. So that way we know specifically what the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday means. It's not just random names. We know why they're there. We have to label both the horizontal. We have to label both the horizontal and the vertical axis so there's no confusion when someone tries to read this chart. The data labels are the things that we use when we're collecting the data. So we need to label Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on the horizontal axis so that we know what this green bar means, what this blue bar means, etc. We also need to label with numbers each of the marks that we put in our chart, in our graph, sorry. If we don't label this line, then we won't know what number of visitors came on Thursday. We have to label these, the data labels on the vertical axis, to know what's going on in the graph.